With the end of Season 3, the closure of Moordale High School, and the farewell of a large part of the cast, there were those who doubted that there would even be a Season 4, but there is, and it is more than up to the task as a finale. Season 4 of S3x Education is a true example of a timely farewell, and we are happy. With an increasingly choral and diverse cast, honoring the title of the series in multiple aspects and cases, the truth is that this ending feels like a healing and positive therapy session with all the characters. A happy ending, but not cheesy, that puts an end to the personal journey of the protagonists with their sexuality, with themselves and with their loved ones. This is all that the end of S3x Education has left us. Unless, of course, there are spin-offs or Season 5. What was the end of Otis and Maeve? In short, they are separated but united. We know that Asa Butterfield and Emma Mackey's characters have many fans. However, we cannot help but feel that the series has long handled its hetero-basic relationship as a hindrance to the more interesting, original and brave supporting cast. The boy and girl who like each other but take 3 seasons to tell each other already ended with Season 3, and in a bittersweet way. The series allows itself to join them to separate them one last time. We have no doubt that that night of sex between Otis and Maeve is a catharsis, and an ending without which the series could not say goodbye. However, his true journey had long since ended. Otis was interesting because of his blocking of sex despite having a sexologist mother. Maeve was because of her intelligence in her complicated work environment. The first one no longer seems to have any blockages beyond trying to forget the girl he likes. And the second is pending a promising future as a writer. It may be the most awkward ending, but there was little left to tell. Special mention deserves the final elegance of the series by uniting them while looking through their respective windows. The Milburn sisters. Dr. Jean Milburn gained a lot of importance in Season 3, thanks to her pregnancy and her relationship with Jacob. Gillian Anderson's character once again steals several of the best scenes here with her portrayal of postpartum repression, her vulnerability as an elderly single mother, and with the arrival of Joanna, a disaster sister who soon becomes much more. Joanna's call to the radio show admitting for the first time how her mother's boyfriend abused her when she was 12 is one of the hardest and most emotional moments of the series. Seeing that they end up together, that they have each other, one of the most satisfying endings. Praise Eric. Ncuti Gatwa's charisma as Eric has been stratospheric since the beginning of the series, but we didn't expect S3x Education to truly turn it into something divine. Freed completely safe in his church, Eric's plot this final season has nothing to do with boyfriends, friends, or his sexual orientation. The character decides not to be baptized or be openly gay in his church, despite his deep faith in God and affection for his community. However, it seems that all her visions of God, here a homeless woman, were not focused on his forced baptism. No, Eric is recognized by God in person as a light to illuminate others, as a pastor who defends and guides all queer people who cannot live their religion in community due to the homophobia of the church. It is a very original and surprising plot and outcome. We almost asked for a spin-off about Eric, the queer evangelist. Adam, the man who whispered to his father more than to the horses. In a cast full of color and sex, Adam Groff was always the charming gray note. The deep repression of his character has been released in a subtle and gradual way, giving the character great depth and enormous realism. Once his bisexuality was admitted, he only had to resolve his relationship with his father and a somewhat obtuse future job. Everything is solved for good old Adam thanks to the horses. There he finds his refuge, puts his talent with animals to work, and, through driving and riding lessons, resolves his complicated paternal relationship. Perhaps it seems a little too much to us that the whole family ends up happy again on the sofa, but that father and son hug, that lesson about how to love oneself to love others, deserves another of the applauses that the series receives. He has won with his farewell. Amy, the artist. Amy Lou Wood in real life, Amy Gibbs in S3x Education opened the series topless as the dumb one of the popular group. In Season 2, however, her character suffered sexual abuse that turned her headlong into one of her most interesting characters. Now a friend of the intelligent Maeve, Amy has shown that her naivety had a good part of genius and, therefore, it only made sense that her destiny was artistic creation. Her photographs of her experience with his sexual abuse look just as good as her being Maeve's quadriplegic ex, Isaac, who ends up being her ideal partner. Cal, the heart of the end of S3x Education. Cal Bowman, Dua Sala, was the most interesting character to join Season 3 of S3x Education. But if we believed that his suffering with the imposition of the female uniform in Moordale was the sealing of him as a character, we were wrong. His plot goes somewhat unnoticed throughout the season but only to reveal itself at the end as the series' most powerful whispered cry for help. Cal has a very hard time with dysphoria, until he disappears with clearly suicidal intentions at the end. Seeing the entire school come together to find him, as well as his way of fighting and healing little by little thanks to the love of classmates and family, is the best climax of the series. That the Institute raises money to help him with his sex change, one that if delayed any longer could lead to Cal taking his own life, is the key message of the end of S3x Education. It is a forceful and well-executed cry about how caring and helping trans young people can save lives. A necessary message amid so much transphobic discourse that tries to make us forget what is important. Ruby, Jackson, Viv, and the rest of Cavendish. We thought that S3x Education had almost run out of characters after the end of Season 3. How wrong we were. The new institute, full of modernism, sometimes misunderstood and sometimes introduced us to many more characters. Of course, their stories are somewhat minor and remain anecdotal. We like the detail of including sign language before yoga classes or silent discs. We also like trans inclusion as a popular icon, the vindication of healthy gossip or the evolution of the asexual. However, we continue to prefer the usual ones. Jackson, who has already left his sporting streak behind due to his anxiety crisis, accumulates another trauma by discovering his biological father. However, we are left with a more sincere connection than ever with his mother. I sometimes live on the verge of being a rather toxic nerd due to her excessive competitiveness, but her portrayal of psychological gender violence in adolescence is another branch of the series' mastery. But without a doubt one of our favorite characters is Ruby, who went from being a cruel goddess of popularity to an equally divine piece of bread. Here we say goodbye to her by opening up to others, assuming her feelings, cutting the ties of friendship with an Otis who never deserved her and, ultimately, being the icon of her that she always was. All seasons of S3x Education are now available on Netflix.